The lid of my laptop was still warm when I opened it again. She'd only had it for 20 minutes. Just long enough to check her email, she'd said. But now the login screen felt like it was staring me down, like it knew what she did and was waiting for me to catch up. She didn't need my password. That's the part that still bugs me. She already knew it. She always knew it. I used to think that made us close. It was a Wednesday, early evening. The kitchen smelled like reheated curry and lemon-scented countertop spray. My mom had just finished cleaning up after dinner, her way of apologizing when she said something snippy, and I was halfway through wiping the screen of my laptop with the corner of my t-shirt. I remember thinking I should probably stop doing that, micro scratches and all that. Then she asked, real casual, "Can I borrow your laptop for a second?" No pause. No context. Just a quick reach, like she already expected me to hand it over. I glanced up from the couch. For what? She didn't look at me, just dried her hands on a towel and said, "Need to check something in my email." My phone's being weird. I hesitated, not because I didn't trust her, but because I was still logged into a bunch of stuff. Bank account, work files, some freelance invoices I was chasing. But then again, it was my mom. What was she going to do? Transfer herself $5? Yeah, sure, I said, already hitting Command plus Tab to close out of Chrome. She took the laptop to the dining table. Same place where she used to sit when I was in high school, going over the bills. I watched her from the couch for a few seconds. Her hunched shoulders, the way she pulled her reading glasses out from the drawer like it was part of some routine I'd forgotten existed. I thought about asking what she was checking, but didn't. I trusted her. That's the part I keep circling back to. I trusted her. 10 minutes passed, then 15. She was still typing, then backspacing, then clicking, then typing again. Everything okay? I asked. She didn't look up. Yeah, just slow. Old email account. Want me to help? No, I've got it. That was it. No smile, no warmth. Just flat. When she finally gave it back, she held it out with both hands like she was handing me a dinner plate. She didn't say thanks. I didn't think anything was off until the next morning. I was running late for work. I'd overslept, which was rare, and my shower was rushed, breakfast skipped. I logged into my laptop to check if the freelance client had paid me. I needed that invoice to clear so I could pay my credit card before the weekend. My password didn't work. I stared at the screen. Tried again. Again. Then one more time, slower, like maybe I'd fat-fingered something. Incorrect password. I started sweating. It wasn't the login to the laptop, it was the saved password manager prompt. The bank login vault I'd set up through a Chrome extension. It had two-factor. I always had two-factor. Except, now it was asking for a new one. Unrecognized device, it said. My phone buzzed, but not with a verification code. Instead, it was an email alert. Your password was recently changed. If this wasn't you, click here to recover your account. I clicked. I filled out the form. I waited. Then came the second email. Your request was denied due to incomplete verification information. For further assistance, please contact customer service. I froze. I didn't tell anyone right away. Not my boss, not my roommate, not even her. I didn't want to believe it. I honestly thought maybe I'd been hacked. But then I remembered. She had the laptop last. I went into the Chrome history, opened incognito, checked cached logins, dug around like some forensic tech bro, even though I had no idea what I was doing. And then I saw it. A line in the history How to reset bank password without phone. Timestamp, 7:14 p.m., exactly when she was checking her email. I confronted her that night. I didn't go in angry. I didn't slam my laptop on the table like some TV drama. I just walked into the kitchen while she was chopping onions and said, "Hey, did you do anything weird while you were using my laptop yesterday?" She didn't even flinch. Weird how? Like, go into any of my accounts? Now she stopped, knife in midair, eyes still on the onion. "No," she said. "Why would I do that?" I waited. Let the silence stretch. "I mean, my bank locked me out this morning," I said. "Said the password was changed. Same for my password manager. Still nothing, not a twitch. I checked the browser history." That did it. Her eyes flicked to mine. "And I saw the search." She wiped her hands and turned to me. "Why are you spying on me?" It spiraled from there. Accusations, deflections. She played the hurt mother card like it was a reflex. "I gave birth to you. I've never taken a dime from you. Your father would be ashamed of how you talk to me." I kept trying to stay calm. I wasn't even mad yet, just confused. I wanted an answer. I wanted to know why. That's when she said it. "I needed to check something, that's all." I wasn't trying to steal anything. The word hung in the air. "You changed my password," I said. She shrugged. "You're overreacting." I backed away from the counter. "I'm locked out of my own money. It's our money." That's when I realized it wasn't confusion anymore. It was calculation. She wasn't sorry. She thought she had a right to it. Let me give you some context. My mom and I lived together. Or rather, I moved back in with her after college to help out. It was supposed to be temporary. I had student debt, she had a mortgage, and we both told ourselves it made sense. At first it did. We split groceries, I helped with utilities. She cooked, I cleaned. We weren't best friends, but we got along. Then COVID happened, then inflation, then she lost her part-time job at the clinic. Suddenly, I was covering more bills. She stopped looking for work. I didn't push. I figured, she raised me, right? I owed her that much. But then she started talking like my money was family money. Like when I bought new shoes and she said, "Guess you had extra this month, huh?" Or when I got a tax refund and she asked, "So are we using that for the house repairs?" And I kept brushing it off. Until now. Until she used my trust like a door key and locked me out. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, though I was, but because I didn't know what this meant. Was she desperate? Was she hiding something? Was she always like this, and I just never saw it? I tried calling the bank. No luck after hours. I emailed customer service. Automated reply. I stared at my phone screen until the battery died. And still, no apology. The next morning, I found her in the living room, flipping through daytime news like nothing happened. I sat down across from her. "I need access to my account." She didn't look up. "You can't just take it back after what you said." I blinked. "What I said?" "You accused me. You made me feel like a criminal." "You are acting like one," I said, louder than I meant to. She stood. "You want to live here? You show some respect. This is my house." That was the first time she ever threw that in my face. And that's when I realized I was stuck. Rent prices were insane. I couldn't afford to move out. I couldn't even access my own savings to make a plan. And the one person I thought I could trust, the woman who raised me, just weaponized her access like it was nothing. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about control. And I didn't know how to take it back. Not yet. But I would. Maybe you shouldn't keep secrets from family. She said it like she was commenting on the weather, like it was just obvious. We were standing in the kitchen again, same spot as last time, same tension, only now it had calcified into something colder. She was sipping tea. Mine was going cold on the counter. I hadn't touched it. I didn't keep secrets, I said. I have private accounts. Like every adult does. You live in my house, she said, not even looking at me. Don't act like you're some stranger. I blinked at her. It was too early for this. I hadn't even brushed my teeth yet. So that means you get to go through my stuff? I didn't go through anything. I needed to check my balance. Your balance? On my bank account? Now she finally turned to me. I thought we were in this together. I didn't answer. Not because she was right, but because I didn't have the words for what I was feeling. There was a buzzing under my skin that hadn't stopped since I saw the password reset email. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. Quiet. Heavy. Like I'd been stupid to trust her. I picked up my cold tea, dumped it in the sink, and left the room. She didn't stop me. At work, I couldn't concentrate. I do IT support for a public high school. Not glamorous, but steady. Most days it's a mix of fixing password issues, running updates on ancient laptops, and pretending not to hear the teachers arguing in the staff lounge. That day, though, I kept checking my phone every 15 minutes. Nothing new. No reply from the bank. No recovery access. My debit card still worked for small purchases, which meant she hadn't locked the account completely, yet. But the app wouldn't let me in. The website said my phone number wasn't recognized. At lunch, I stepped outside, sat on the concrete ledge near the dumpsters, and dialed the customer support line again. Hold music. Again. Generic piano loops. The kind that sound like they're apologizing for even existing. Then finally, a human voice. Thank you for holding. How can I help you today? I gave my information. The rep asked the usual questions. Then came the one I dreaded. What's the answer to your secondary security question? I hesitated. She read it aloud. What was the name of your first pet? I knew the answer. But apparently the account didn't. I'm sorry, the rep said, after my second guess. That doesn't match what we have on file. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. I didn't change that, I said quietly. I didn't change anything. I believe you, sir. But without the correct answer, I can't move forward. I press the heel of my hand into my eye. Is there any way to reset it? You'll need to file a fraud investigation claim. That night, I filled out the form. It asked questions like, do you suspect someone close to you has accessed your account? Do you live with this person? Do they have access to your devices? Each one felt like a dagger turning slowly. I didn't want to report my mom. I didn't want to call her a fraud. But I also didn't want to keep pretending this was okay. Because it wasn't. We didn't talk for 2 days. We lived in the same house, ate in the same kitchen, walked past each other in the hall. But we didn't speak. She stopped making dinner. I stopped taking my shoes off by the door. It was small, petty, Cold War stuff, but it hurt more than yelling. And then, on Saturday morning, I found the envelope. It was sitting on the hallway table next to my keys. No note. Just my name in her handwriting, slanted and neat. I opened it. Inside were 4 printed pages. Bank statements. My bank statements. Transactions I hadn't made. Withdrawals I didn't recognize. Transfers to a J. Rahman. No one I knew. Total, just under $1,800. Gone. I didn't even knock. I walked straight into her room. She was folding laundry on the bed, humming some old Hindi song under her breath like nothing was wrong. I held up the papers. "What is this?" She didn't flinch. "You said you needed money for groceries." "This is almost $2,000. I'm keeping track." "You're what?" She sighed like I was the one being difficult. "I'll pay you back." "When?" "With what income?" "I'm trying, okay?" "You think I like being unemployed?" "You stole from me." Now she dropped the shirt. "Don't raise your voice in my house." "Stop saying it's your house. I pay the mortgage. And I gave you life." We both froze. She stepped forward. "You think you're so grown up because you have a job and some passwords? You think you're better than me? I think I'm not your wallet." Her face hardened. "You know what? If you don't like it here, leave." I did. Not that day. I didn't have a place yet. But I started packing. I made a list. Change all passwords. Call the bank again. Talk to HR about an advance. Look up room shares near the school. Cancel utilities in my name. She didn't ask what I was doing. She didn't offer to stop me. But 3 days later, she did something worse. She called my aunt, her sister, told her I was withdrawing from the family, that I was being secretive and mean, and accused her of stealing. My aunt called me crying. "Beta, what happened?" "Your mom's so upset." I told her the truth. She got quiet, then said, "Well, she's your mother." That's it. Not, "That's wrong." Not, "She shouldn't have done that." Just, "She's your mother." Like that covered everything. I moved out 3 weeks later. I found a one-room studio 30 minutes from work. Mold in the shower. No kitchen table. Thin walls. But it was mine. The first night, I slept on the floor because the bed hadn't arrived. No texts from her. No calls. The only thing she sent was a forwarded meme from her WhatsApp group. Something about sons forgetting their mothers after they become successful. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I changed my number. But the thing is, she still has my old documents, my birth certificate, my childhood photos, my school records. She even has my social security card, somewhere in that overstuffed cabinet of hers. I asked once if I could come pick them up. She said, "Why? So you can cut me off completely?" I said, "No, so I can just exist." She hung up. I'm still locked out of parts of my past. Not just the files, not just the account, but the belief that home was safe, that I could trust the person who raised me, that blood meant something more than leverage. I'm rebuilding now. New passwords, new apartment, new boundaries. But there's still that folder in my mind labeled Mom, and it's full of red flags I didn't want to see. It was 11:06 a.m. on a Thursday when the bank finally called me back. I was in the school server room, sitting on an upside-down recycling bin with my lunch half-opened beside me. Cold chicken wrap, bottle of Sprite, and a packet of mustard I already knew I wasn't going to use. The number came up as unknown caller. I almost didn't answer. I'd gotten so many spam calls recently that it had become muscle memory to swipe decline without a second thought. But something told me to pick up. "Mr. Sadiq?" the voice said, after I muttered a cautious hello. "Yes?" "This is Adrian from Tristone National. You filed a fraud escalation form regarding unauthorized access to your checking account." I froze for half a second, then sat up straighter. Yeah, I did." We've reviewed the documentation, and we wanted to go over a few questions with you. For the next 15 minutes, he walked me through every suspicious transaction. 4 ATM withdrawals from the gas station near my mom's house. 2 for $400, 1 for $300, 1 for $120. 3 online transfers to an account under the name J. Rahman. $200, $150, $230. A few retail charges I didn't even recognize. A small jewelry store, an electronics shop, a travel site. The total was $1,830 and some change. Same as the printed statements my mom had left for me. I didn't authorize any of those, I said. And you live with your mother, correct? Not anymore. But you did at the time of the access? Yes. Do you believe she was responsible for the account changes? I hesitated. Then I said it out loud for the first time, not to a friend, not to a mirror, but to a stranger on the other end of a recorded line. Yes, I believe she changed the password and made the transfers. Understood, he said. Then, before I could exhale, she actually called us 2 days ago. My heart stopped. What? She identified herself as a joint account holder, which, according to our records, she is not, and requested a halt on the fraud claim. She stated that the transactions were a misunderstanding between family members and that she intended to resolve it privately. I couldn't speak. Obviously, we did not close the investigation based on her call, but we're required to notify you that she reached out. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. She tried to cancel the fraud claim? She attempted to. I got off the call in a daze. The room was silent except for the hum of the server rack and the faint tick of the cheap wall clock that had been off by 7 minutes since before I started working here. She'd tried to shut it down. She wasn't just avoiding the issue, she was actively trying to erase it. I opened my email. No new messages from her, no apology, no explanation. Just a new text from an unknown number. You didn't have to go that far. Blood is blood. You'll regret this. No name. But I didn't need one. That weekend, I drove back to her place. Not to talk, not to reconcile, just to get my documents. I parked across the street, the same curb where I used to wait for the school bus when I was 10, chewing on the strings of my backpack and pretending the cracks in the pavement were lava. The front door was open, screen door latched. I rang the bell. She came to the door in her house dress, one slipper on. She didn't open it. I just want my stuff, I said. She didn't move. Birth certificate, social security card, my file folder from the cabinet. She looked me up and down like I was a Jehovah's Witness or a stray animal. Then she said, "You'll get it when you apologize." I actually laughed. Apologize for what? Having a bank account? For accusing me, for shaming me, for making this into a public mess. You made it a mess when you broke into my... I didn't break anything. You lied. I borrowed. You changed the password and locked me out. I was protecting us. From what? She didn't answer. Then she said, "You think money matters more than me?" And I said, "I think trust matters more than both." She shut the door in my face. I walked away empty-handed, got back into the car, sat for 5 minutes with the engine off, hands clenched on the steering wheel like I was waiting for it to yell back at me. She still didn't text, didn't call. The next week, she blocked me on WhatsApp. In the meantime, the bank restored my access. The money was still gone, but the account was under my control again. I had to set up new security questions, add a fresh phone number, disable biometric logins. They flagged the J. Rahman account and said they'd follow up. I asked if there was a chance I'd get the funds back. Possibly, they said, if the investigation confirms your claim and we can verify unauthorized use. But in the back of my mind, I already knew, the moment they realize it was my mom, it would get tricky. Because who's going to press charges against their own mother? My roommate Jules tried to help me keep perspective. You know, he said, during a midnight snack raid in our tiny kitchen, some people have moms who gamble, or steal their identity, or marry some dude in Florida and vanish. Cool, I said. So I'm supposed to be grateful? No, he said, biting into cold pizza. But maybe you stop trying to make her into someone she's not. That landed harder than I wanted to admit, because the truth was, I had been doing that. For years, turning a blind eye, rewriting her mood swings as stress, ignoring the guilt trips, the subtle jabs, the way she always made things about her. It was easier to tell myself she was just struggling. Easier to be the good son than to admit I'd been manipulated. One night, around 2 a.m., I opened a blank document and started writing out every time I could remember her crossing a line. Not just the bank thing, little things, like the time she read my journal in 8th grade and grounded me for bad thoughts. Or when she called my college girlfriend a gold digger because she wore heels to dinner. Or when she made me feel guilty for moving out the first time, calling every night to ask if I missed her yet. I had always brushed it off, said, that's just how Desi moms are. But now it didn't feel cultural. It felt personal, and I was done making excuses. 1 week later, I got a letter in the mail. Not email, not a text, a physical letter with her handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a check for $1,000. No note, no apology, just a memo line that said, "For your trouble." I stared at it for a long time. Then I ripped it in half, then into quarters, then I dropped it in the trash. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was never just about the money. It was about the fact that she didn't think she did anything wrong, that in her head, I was the one who broke the bond, not her. That's the part that hurt most. Not the money, not even the betrayal, the gaslighting, the refusal to name what happened. I'm not sure what part 4 will bring yet. I know I'll have to make some hard decisions about whether to press charges, whether to go no contact, whether to chase justice or just let it rot. But for now, I'm learning how to sleep through the night again, learning how to keep my phone on silent, learning how to live with silence from someone who used to speak for me. The folder felt cold in my hands. It wasn't cold, not really, just a manila envelope I'd pulled from the bottom of the mail bin at work. But something about the smoothness of it, the way it didn't bend, the way it smelled faintly of ink and metal, it made the whole thing feel heavier than it was. Inside was the final report from the bank's fraud department. A physical copy. I'd asked for it that way, not because I needed a paper trail. The digital version had already come weeks ago, but because I wanted something I could hold, something real. Maybe because nothing about this felt real anymore. Not the fact that I still hadn't spoken to my mom in over a month. Not the fact that my own family was quietly cutting me out of WhatsApp threads. Not the fact that my stolen money still hadn't been recovered and probably wouldn't be. But the report? That was real. It came with an official-sounding cover page. Final determination, partial liability acknowledged, unauthorized transfers confirmed. Then 3 pages of transaction logs. Then the kicker. Based on the nature of the relationship between the claimant and the suspected party, restitution is not eligible through our standard insurance mechanisms. Translation: You got robbed. But since it was your mom, we're not covering it. I brought it home and laid it on the kitchen counter of my new place. Jules walked in right as I was staring at the page, still in his gym clothes, earphones slung around his neck like a stethoscope. "Dude, you okay?" I nodded without nodding. He glanced at the folder. "Is that it?" "Yeah." He hovered for a second, then grabbed a protein shake from the fridge, unscrewed the cap, and leaned on the counter next to me. "You know," he said, "you don't have to keep reading it. It's not going to change." "I know. So what now?" That was the question. What now? I had my laptop back. I had my accounts back. I had a lock on everything that could be locked. But I also had nothing else. No mom, no weekend check-ins, no childhood photos, no shared recipes, birthday reminders, or come over for dinner texts. Just a hole where a relationship used to be. I thought about calling her, not to apologize, not even to talk, just to see what she'd say, if she'd pick up, if her voice would sound the same. But then I thought about that check, the one she sent without a note, the one I'd torn up. I thought about the way she'd shut the door on me like I was a stranger selling something she didn't want. And I didn't call. 2 weeks later, something strange happened. I ran into my cousin Adnan at a hardware store. He was buying curtain rods. I was looking for one of those foam insulators for the gap under my new front door. We hadn't spoken since the fallout. He lived on the other side of the city, closer to my mom. He saw me first. "Bro," he said, walking over with a plastic bag in one hand and a receipt in the other. "Damn, you disappeared." I gave him a look. I could say the same. Yeah, he said. "Auntie told everyone you moved to the moon." That stung more than I let on. I shrugged. "It's quieter there." He laughed. "Look, man, I don't know what happened. But if you ever want to come toAmi's for dinner, you're always welcome." I nodded, and then, just before we parted, he said, "She misses you. She just doesn't know how to say it." I didn't reply to that. I couldn't, because missing me wasn't the same as making it right. That night, I pulled out my laptop and opened a fresh document. At the top, I typed, "What I need if we ever speak again," and I started a list, a full apology, not vague, not, "Sorry you felt that way," actual ownership, a written admission of what she did, changing my bank login, moving the money, an understanding that this doesn't get moved on from overnight. No more guilt trips, no expectation that things will ever go back to normal. Return of my documents, birth certificate, SS card, the works. A promise, never again. I didn't write the list to send it. I wrote it to remind myself what I deserved. Because for the first time in a long time, I was setting the bar. A few days later, I got an email. Subject line, "Important, your documents." It was from a new Gmail address I didn't recognize, but the name was familiar. J. Rahman, the same name from the bank transfers. I clicked it open. Inside was one line, "I have the folder." She told me to hold it. "When you're ready, I can give it to you. No drama. No greeting, no signature, no threat. Just logistics." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I typed, "Where and when?" We met at a parking lot behind a mosque on the east side. He was in his 50s, thin, wiry, sharp eyes. I recognized him vaguely from a few family gatherings, someone my mom had called her cousin, but who I now suspected was something more entangled. He handed me the folder like it was a USB drive full of state secrets. Didn't say much, didn't smile, didn't defend her. just said, "I hope you find peace," and walked away. Inside the folder, everything, my documents, a few old photos, some of them dog-eared, my middle school report cards, my social card, even my old library card. She'd held on to everything, curated it, filed it, but she couldn't say sorry. Not once. That night, I didn't cry. I expected to. I really did. But all I felt was done. Not numb, just done. Like I'd finally closed a browser tab that had been slowing everything down for years. Jules noticed something was different. "You're walking lighter," he said one morning as I made coffee. "Am I?" "Yeah. Like your back isn't carrying as much." I looked down at my hands, still trembling slightly, like they always did when I was overstimulated. But he was right. I felt lighter. And then I said it out loud. "I think I'm not going back. Not just physically, but emotionally. No more craving her approval. No more hoping for some magical fix. No more replays in my head of what should have happened if we were a normal family. I wasn't going back. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. The key wasn't heavy. It sat on my nightstand for weeks. A dull bronze copy of the front door to my mom's house. Same one I'd used since I was 14. She never asked for it back, and I never offered to return it. At first, I thought I'd keep it in case of emergencies. Then I started to wonder if I was just holding on to the idea of home, not the place itself. But the truth was simple. The lock had changed. Not literally. She hadn't rekeyed the door. But whatever lived behind that key was gone now, and I was finally okay letting it stay locked. I didn't expect what came next. It started with a phone call from my aunt, not the one who cried on the phone last time, but the quieter one, the one who usually kept her distance from family politics. I picked up surprised. "Hi, Beta," she said. "How are you?" I could tell from her voice that she wasn't just calling to say hi. She paused, then said, "She's not doing so well." I didn't say anything. "She's been very withdrawn lately. Not eating properly. She's been crying a lot. I thought you should know." Again, I said nothing. "She won't admit it," my aunt continued, "but I think she knows she went too far." I waited. Then I asked, "Did she say that?" "No," she said honestly, "but she's not herself." That part made me laugh a little under my breath. I don't think she's been herself for a long time. There was a silence. Then she said, "You don't have to talk to her. I'm not pushing. I just thought you deserved to know." I thanked her and hung up. That night, I stared at the key again. Tried to imagine walking back through that door. What I'd say, what I'd do, how it would feel to see her face. Maybe softer, maybe older, maybe just more tired. But I couldn't picture it. All I saw was her behind that screen door saying, "You'll get your documents when you apologize." Like my identity was hers to withhold. I didn't go back, but I did write a letter, not to send, just to say what I needed to say without interruption. It wasn't poetic, it wasn't polished. It was raw, blunt. It started like this: "You hurt me. Not just by taking money, but by acting like I didn't deserve to be angry about it." And it ended with this: "I still love you. I always will. But I can't do this anymore. Love isn't license, and family isn't free access." I folded the letter and sealed it in an envelope. Then I put it in the back of my sock drawer and left it there. Time passed. Seasons changed. I got promoted, moved into a slightly better apartment, started seeing someone, a teacher from the school where I work. Her name's Mina. She drinks peppermint tea, hates loud clocks, and never pressures me to talk before I'm ready. Sometimes I tell her bits and pieces, like the time my mom used to pack my lunch with little sticky notes that said, "Remember who you are." Or how we used to sit on the floor during power outages, playing carom and swatting mosquitoes, and I never wanted those nights to end. And sometimes I tell her other things, like how that same mom looked me in the eye and said, "If you don't like it here, leave." Or how she tried to cancel the fraud claim behind my back. Mina always listens. She doesn't offer fixes. She just puts her hand on mine. A few months later, I got a message. Not from my mom, from her neighbor. A woman I barely remembered, but who apparently remembered me. From school runs, from festivals, from running down the block with a backpack too big for my frame. The message was simple. She's been in the hospital. Mild stroke. Stable now. Just thought you should know. No pressure. No guilt. Just information. I sat with it for a while. Then I drove to the hospital. I didn't go into the room. I stood outside the window watching her sleep. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair had more gray. Her skin had that loose, translucent look that comes with time and maybe regret. I stayed 10 minutes. Then I left. Didn't sign in. Didn't leave a note. But I left with something I didn't expect. Not closure, not forgiveness, but peace. Some stories don't end with reunions. Some just pause indefinitely, like tabs you never close but stop refreshing. I don't know if I'll ever speak to her again, but I do know who I am now, not a wallet, not a doormat, not a guilty son trying to buy his way into love, just me. A man who learned, painfully, slowly, and honestly, that trust is a door, and once someone picks the lock, you don't owe them a copy of the key again. I kept the letter, not to send, but to remind myself I said it. I still have the key too. Same place, back of the drawer, face down, just in case. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.